Good morning and welcome to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Shane Matthews here, and we have a special guest in studio today, Lisa Magary from Celebrate Primary Care, one of our great sponsors, and we're glad she's here. She's going to give us a little rundown on what's shutting the world down. How are you, Lisa?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. Obviously, we'll talk about a little bit about Celebrate Primary Care later in the program. But first, gosh, I tell you what, there's bigger fish to fry in the world, but being a sports talk show and sports being a part of our lives so much, it's all shut down. Do you think that's the right thing to do when it comes to these sporting events?
I think so. I think the big problem is people might not have any symptoms and might be able to spread the virus. So because we know the elderly are at the highest risk, it's concerning because someone really healthy could have no symptoms and spread the virus.
Right.
And so because of that and because of what happened in Italy, I feel like we're being overly cautious because we don't want that to happen here.
Right. So let all our listeners, I'm sure they may know, some may not, but where and when did this virus initiate?
In China.
China.
Yeah, it started in China. And, there wasn't testing available, so it spread pretty rapidly because of population density. And then because we have such amazing worldwide travel and people can get around so easily now, it was spread and, close quarters make it spread faster, which is what we're kind of doing with canceling everything is, social separation, people having more distance from each other. So, I think it feels like everybody's freaking out a little bit, which I think they are. I've been in healthcare for 25 years and been through a lot of these kind of situations. We've had several scares, but I think because of the rapid transmission in Italy and how quick it got out of control, we don't want to do that here. So
yeah, that makes sense. So the so-called experts, why do you think they're so concerned? And where do they stand on a vaccine at this moment?
So vaccines take a little while to
probably about
produce.
A year, right?
Yeah, about a year. It takes a while to. You've got to do testing, animal testing, human testing. It's not something that we can start injecting people without really knowing if it's the right thing. So, because of all those safety measures in check, it takes a while.
So, what can we do to lower the risk of myself or a family member? Is it just basically staying away from other people, washing our hands? Is that the main thing?
Yes, basically wash your hands and don't touch your face. So I feel like that's a really big challenge in Florida because the pollen count is 7,000.
That's what I was going to say. Like last night, I'd taken the dog for a couple of walks during the day and at night, and I get inside and I'm like, oh my gosh, my eyes are killing me. I'm rubbing my eyes. Are those symptoms? But I'm hoping it's the pollen. I feel pretty good. But, here, like you said, in the state of Florida, the pollen is horrible right now.
So bad. And, I can't tell you at the clinic we have an on-site pharmacy, so how much Zyrtec and Claritin and Flonase and Singular we've gone through because the pollen is so bad this year. And so people are, the symptoms of allergies and pollen is runny nose, cough, and so they get a cough and they're worried, and really it's postnasal drip. So we don't have a way to test yet. Quest told us the end of the month for testing, but unfortunately they want you to test in a negative pressure room, which is a specialized room that sucks the air outside, and most primary care clinics don't have that. So, but wash your hands, don't touch your face, washing surfaces, with a Lysol, using Purell if you don't have access to soap and water at that time. I joked about jazz hands, like when I came in,
right.
Greeting people, but not if you're gonna, it's sad because we're like we don't want to touch each other anymore.
Exactly.
We're afraid. But just being wise and understanding who's at highest risk, right? The elderly, those with compromised immune systems. So you and I are healthy and we take care of ourselves and we exercise and we eat well and we sleep well, and for us it might just be we get a little bit of a cough and a fever for a couple of days and then we're fine. But unfortunately, those symptoms could spread to other people for up to 14 days. So that's why, I think Disney chose this 14-day block to close, to clean, to reduce access. And, they're saying the virus can stay active on surfaces for up to 3 days. So that's why they're wiping everything. And so, I think being wise is important. I don't know if panicking is the right thing, but I'm glad everybody's washing their hands now. I mean, flu season should be better next year, right?
No doubt. Well, I've always been a clean freak. This is Lisa Magary from Celebrate Primary Care, who's joining us in the Crime Prevention Security System studios. We appreciate her coming in today. So is it better to wash your hands, or is hand sanitizer better?
Wash your hands. 20 seconds, sing a song, happy birthday. I don't know that. Now there's probably, 40 different songs you can sing while you're washing your hands.
So 20 seconds is the key.
20 seconds is the key. That's when you're going to remove the most virus and bacteria from your hands.
And then I've heard that when you do hand sanitizer, you got to really rub it in.
Right.
You don't just kind of just
It's part of the friction is part of the
friction. Okay.
Yeah, but that's why washing is good, because you're running it underwater and then you're using a towel to, so all of those, the combination of that activity is what really reduces the risk.
So when according to the CDC, when can someone be released from isolation?
So I actually want to read it because I want to make sure I get it exactly right. So according to the CDC, it is okay to release someone from isolation when the patient has been fever-free, without fever-reducing medications like Tylenol or ibuprofen. And people have to be careful because a lot of the NyQuil, DayQuil, the combination medications actually have Tylenol in it, so they'll be taking that, not realizing that they're taking a fever reducer. We want to make sure the patient is no longer showing symptoms, including a cough, which unfortunately in Florida, if you have allergies, you're coughing. So it makes it a little bit challenging, right? And the patient, this is probably the biggest, the patient tested negative on at least 2 consecutive respiratory specimens at least 24 hours apart. So these are the CDC guidelines for you're okay and you're safe.
So what is the difference between having the virus and carrying the virus?
Well, if you have active infection, you're gonna. My piece is falling off. Sorry. If you have active infection, you're gonna have fever, cough, and then the severe symptom is shortness of breath. Right. So that's the thing we want to make sure that people are watched out for. And that's the most concerning symptom. And that's what's actually going to take you to the hospital.
I was going to read that, but I'm not going to read that. It's silly. Okay. So what are the symptoms that a person should worry about the most?
The shortness of breath. That's
shortness of breath.
Yeah. So the constellation that's the most concerning, and the hospital has a lot of protocols for this, Shands does, is a fever. Well, recent travel to one of the 4 places: Italy, Iran, China, and basically now they're saying all of Europe. So travel there within 14 days, a fever, and a fever is considered over 100.4 Fahrenheit. So low grade, like a 99.9 in this case, would not be considered a fever. Cough and shortness of breath. So they feel like their lungs are filling with fluid. And at the hospital, that's actually who's being tested is the patients with all that have met those criteria but are also on pretty high flow oxygen.
So basically, if someone is starting not to feel great, has a headache, coughing a little bit, they don't have to freak out.
No.
Whenever you have shortness of breath is when you need to freak out.
Yeah, that's when you worry. And any clinic, when you call and say you're short of breath, they're going to send you to the ER. So, this is actually no different than that case. But the nice thing is Alachua County has really stepped up quickly. The health department has a contact number for clinicians, a contact number for people concerned. So we've been able to, take care of a lot of those concerns by referring them to the health department. Why don't you have this conversation? And then we just provide supportive care on the other side, because it's a virus. It's a virus. There's not a medication they can take. It's just supportive care and making sure they're okay.
We got Lisa Magary from Celebrate Primary Care, in studio here in the Crime Prevention Security System studios. So I believe next week is here in the Alachua County area is spring break for most schools.
Yeah.
Would you recommend people to continue going on their vacation wherever it may be, whether it's a cruise? Now I don't know if they've shut all cruise lines down. I'm not aware.
Not all of them, no.
But would you get on an airplane right now?
Depending on where it was going.
Right.
I mean, I feel like people have to be wise, and you can go to the CDC website and you can look at the distribution of where the cases are. I would say if you're traveling with your grandma, don't go.
Right.
But if everybody's healthy and you have a car trip somewhere and it's not an area that's has a high density, but use your judgment. I would, with my family, we're healthy, and the incidence for serious problems for our age is very low. So, I mean, people have to use their judgment. But I think if you're traveling with somebody over the age of 60 or anybody that has chronic health issues, I wouldn't go.
Yeah. So back to sports, and I don't know how much you follow sports, or especially collegiate sports.
Just Gator football.
Just Gator football. Okay. Well, hopefully that will be okay by then.
Yes, it
but
better
you know,
be.
they came out and initially they canceled all collegiate sports until I think it was like the March 30th date, and then they're going to reassess it. But then they came back an hour or two later, and now all sports are done until fall. I'm not asking you. I guess I'm going to ask you. You think that's the right thing to do?
I like the assess in 2 weeks. I mean, it's a 14-day isolation period, and but they don't know what it's going to do. I think the reaction is based out of what's happened in Italy. I think we don't want that to happen here, and so they're being overly cautious. And I mean, you don't want your grandmother or your families to be affected in a negative way. And I feel like because they're being so assertive so quickly, it might slow it down, the potential for the spread.
Well, Lisa, obviously you're with Celebrate Primary Care. Mm-hmm. How many clinics do you have here, and where are they located?
We have one in Gainesville off of Newberry Road and Park Avenue, so kind of behind where Quinn Eye Care is.
So here I am. I'm scratching my eyes.
Don't touch them. Stab it. I know. I said, oh, please don't let me touch my face. I've been telling my kids not to touch their face at airports forever. So for me, it's like, oh yeah, we've been having this conversation. We have a location here in Alachua out by Brown's Buffet. It's like the best landmark. Everybody knows where it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we're looking to expand into Jacksonville and Ocala at the end of the year. So
okay, tell us about how you can join primary care, how it works, and how much does it cost?
Okay, so Celebrate Primary Care is a direct primary care. People pay a low monthly membership fee for unlimited access, no co-pays when they come, and then wholesale pricing on labs and medication. So we have a dispensing pharmacy on site with wholesale pricing, which is great. I mean, I started somebody on blood pressure medicine. It was 76 cents for the month. We draw labs on site, and we have a relationship with Quest where we get wholesale pricing. So a full panel of labs that would traditionally cost you about $700 is $50 in my office, and you pay at the time of service. It's price transparency. You know the price of everything before you come. We want you to have insurance, but we don't bill the insurance company. That's how we're able to keep our costs so low. So it's super easy to join, celebrateprimarycare.com. There's an enroll link if you're with a business, which we work with about 200 local businesses to provide our service to their employees. You can just call the office or send an inquiry online. There's an inquiry page, and we're happy to tell you more information and give you the rundown. For businesses, the cost is $50 per person per month. For adults and kids are $25 a month with a paying adult, so it's a $600 a year per person. And then if you enroll through the website and you're not affiliated with a business, it's just based on age. So if you're under the age of 50, it's $50 a month. 51 to 64 is $75 a month, and then Medicare age is $100 a month. But we don't bill any insurance in our office.
All right, good. And people can check that out at celebrateprimarycare.com.
Yes.
Okay, before we go to break, anything else you want to add on this coronavirus that I didn't cover?
Yes, just one thing. So where can you go for information? I know the media's going a little bit crazy, but if the best place to get information that's accurate, that has I feel like the best interest of the public is the Department of Health for Florida, and they're updating it for all the new cases. The only thing I'm sad about is they're not saying the condition of the person; they're just saying the case. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if these are people in hospitals or people that were on cruises and are sitting at home. So that's unfortunate that information isn't readily available. But the Florida Department of Health, or whatever state you're in, their Department of Health is going to be keeping up just like the Florida is. The CDC has great information. They're updating it every day. The information I gave was from this morning, from making sure I had the correct numbers. And then the World Health Organization, if you want to kind of keep up with what's going on in Italy and how their numbers are doing and how the survival rate is. And one more thing, I know it's a higher death rate than the flu, but we don't know how many cases. But the positive is the death rate is 3.4% is what the number was this morning. But the positive side of that is it's a 96.6% survival rate.
Absolutely.
And recovery. So,
well, Lisa, we appreciate you coming in and kind of educating us on what's going on. And again, you can check out Celebrate Primary Care here locally. Check them out online at celebrateprimarycare.com. We're going to take a time out here. We'll be right back. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning.
Time out! Time out!
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Coldstone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. To learn more, visit centerstatebank.com. Center State Bank, member FDIC. Well, Jackie Spreads is going to join us, Jack Daly. JC is, believe it or not, he's traveling on assignment today.
Craziness. Absolute
So
craziness.
Jackie Spread's going to sit in. We got some texts here on the Titan MRI text line. If you want to send us, we're going to need a bunch of text here for the next few weeks or months. But it says, "Happy Friday, fellas. Seeing how the authorities on coronavirus want to limit gatherings to 250 people or less, Derek Jeter should be happy because the Marlins can still host home games. Well, Shane, you better break out the Rolodex and get your buddies on the show, or you'll be stuck with JC talking Tom Brady free agency for the next week, which I actually find intriguing. It's best described as Tominos, because what he does will dictate a lot of other teams' QB decisions. Have a great weekend." And he says he'll be watching a lot of Netflix and Hulu. Later, Ryan in Higher Springs. Ryan, appreciate the text. Well, Jackie Spreads, what do you think, my man? No sports. I mean, I am depressed. I ain't gonna lie.
As well. When the news broke yesterday that there was not going to be an NCAA tournament, I kind of saw it coming. I was in denial, though. I think I'm still in the bargaining phase of denial, where I'm saying, well, maybe it could still happen, and maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see a tournament still, and it's not fair to these players. They got to do something. But in reality, I just don't think anything's going to happen here. I think we're going to be sportless for at least 60 days.
Yeah, and Jackie Spreads is usually brought to you by Peachland Dentistry with his picks. We have no picks, but Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas, that is Peachland Dentistry. Yeah, I was really, well, first of all, yesterday, I'm doing some stuff around the house, had to do some other things. I get home, grab some lunch, and then I find out the ACC, the SEC tournament, Big Ten, they're all canceled. Mm-hmm. I'm flipping through the channels, and the Big East in New York City and Madison Square Garden, they're playing St. John's and Creighton. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, well, at least I got something I can watch today.
Right.
And then they play off half, and then at halftime they cancel the game.
Right, and that was stupid to me. And, I mean, this is just me as a degenerate gambler talking, but a lot of people probably had money on that game because it was the only game going on. And I know I did. And when I was watching it and it was halftime, I went and did some stuff at half like everybody else does. And I came back and they're saying it's been canceled. And while I kind of saw it coming because I said, what's the point of even finishing this game for seeding and whatever matters in March doesn't matter anymore. But as a fan, I watched the last round, the last few minutes of the Players' Championship yesterday as well, and I kind of knew in my head, hey, this is the last time you're going to get to do this for a long time. But it was really hard to just grasp that in the moment. And now looking back, kind of removed from that, 24 hours removed from that, I'm just dumbfounded. Like, I have nothing to talk about. I have nothing to watch. I have nothing to do for the next 2 months.
Yeah, it could be longer than that for all we know.
It could. I'm playing hopeful. I mean, we don't know with this disease. Obviously, we're not experts on that. That's why we had that expert in here before. But I just think that what we've seen in Italy and China and France, that this is just the beginning. I think things are going to get worse before they get any better. And we'll reassess in 2 weeks is probably a smarter move than just shut everything down, but I understand why they did what they did.
Yeah, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Jonathan in Tampa. It says, great guest and information with the medical expert. I will now wash my hands for 20 seconds every time. Thank you for bringing her on. Yeah, she definitely helped us there. I feel horrible. I'm obviously depressed because, my entire life has revolved around sports forever. Mm-hmm. No matter what sport it is. Now there's nothing to watch, nothing to keep up with. But I feel so bad for the collegiate athletes that their seasons are over. And I can't quite understand why they wouldn't just say, okay, we're going to suspend all activities or games, because you're still allowed to stay on campus and practice, but you can't participate and play against an opponent. Mm-hmm. Why? From softball to swimming to wrestling to baseball. I mean, we're the number one team in the country in baseball. Yeah. These kids, their goal, everything they strive for is to get to Omaha, softball, Oklahoma City. Mm. And now they're done. I just, the College World Series is in June. The Women's World Series is the end of May, first part of June. Why couldn't they just wait and reassess and see where we stand with this virus? But, now I don't know what they're going to do.
I mean, especially in sports, when I saw Rudy Gobert had it and the whole quarantine thing that happened in Oklahoma City, I have a little bit of information on that I'll share later. But with that happening, I kind of knew that, oh, crap, Rudy Gobert was just mocking this disease last week. And there's no way, with the way they practice and how physical the NBA is, that somebody else doesn't have this thing, whether it's on his team or another team. And then a few hours later, it comes out that Donovan Mitchell has it. And then, Donovan Mitchell's kid probably has it. And then Donovan Mitchell's kid's entire class at school probably has it. And that's how these things spread. And the government and all these NBPA, everybody in the sports world kind of just immediately said, we're not even going to mess with this. We're not going to play around with this. Let's just shut everything down. Now, I don't understand why they're shutting down non-contact sports such as baseball, such as softball. Sure, somebody might slide into somebody and touch each other's arm, but if that disease doesn't break out in that certain league, I don't understand why we're canceling it, especially in a sport that doesn't have a lot of physical contact.
No, I agree. I mean, obviously, they're a lot smarter than we are. I just wish I just feel horrible for the college athletes that may never get another chance to. I think the NCAA should grant another year of eligibility for these spring sports.
Absolutely. And I saw an interesting tweet yesterday that said we should grant all these seniors who weren't going to go pro anyway. Obviously, they'll have the opportunity to go pro. But if they didn't want to go pro, they should grant them a special red shirt to come back if you're not going to play the tournament. And I really feel bad for teams like Florida State and teams like Dayton and teams like Wisconsin who weren't supposed to be great this year and ended up being very, very good. I saw a bracket was released by Joe Lunardi. It was just a spreadsheet of the bracket they had at that time. Florida State was a 2 seed. Dayton was a 1 seed. I just feel bad for teams like that this was their year. Teams that aren't blue blood programs, that aren't in the mix for a championship every year, just got their hearts ripped out. My cousin is a former player for Providence up out of the Big East. They were going to be a tournament team this year, and he said that players were texting him, and he was getting videos of teams just crying in the locker room after the tournament was canceled because they were just so disappointed that this was the end.
Yeah, but at least, I mean, I think they need to. I don't know what they need to do because of the March Madness, but at least those guys got to play an entire year. Mm-hmm. Look at what baseball and softball and swimming in these sports and lacrosse. Mm-hmm. I mean, Florida had a chance to win the national title this year in baseball and possibly in softball.
They had to be the odds-on favorite.
So now, with numbers of scholarships that you're allowed to have, I think they're going to have to put an asterisk by it. In my opinion, the NCAA has to do something.
Yeah.
Increase the limit of increase the number that you can have on your roster, because they need to do what's right and go back and give these kids another year if they want to come back. Speaking of what happened in Oklahoma City the other night, you have some close relatives that are
Yes.
part of the Thunder organization. What did you talk to anyone? Hear
did.
about how weird that whole evening was?
So that situation was, I'm sure you guys saw on the internet the Chris Paul story where he went over to the bench, and these NBA players nowadays, it's like the AAU, they're all friends. The real competitiveness comes from guys like Patrick Beverley and Draymond Green, but those are needles in a haystack. I heard that other than Chris Paul going over and the Jazz bench saying get away from us, we might have this thing. They were overly cautious, and I shouldn't say that because you can't be too overly cautious in a situation like that. But they called the game 5 minutes before it was supposed to tip. Rudy Gobert never made it to the arena. He never made an appearance there, from what I heard. So there was no real risk there, but then again, the story came out where he was being careless, touching microphones, touching players, touching other players' belongings and things like that in a mocking state. What I heard was that everybody was quarantined. The Jazz were quarantined in Oklahoma City overnight. I don't know if they stayed at the arena or not. I know they were at the arena at least 3 hours after the game. And everybody involved, every party involved, there's obviously no games going on, is in at least a 10-day quarantine now, including Coach Donovan, including the whole Jazz team and the whole Thunder team are not allowed to have contact with anybody for at least 10 days.
Is Coach Donovan just sitting at home in a closet?
I think this is the most free time he's probably had in 15 years, because you look at the recruiting trail and all his days at Florida, that's brutal. All summer long, you're just traveling. That's probably a big reason why college stopped too, is because we don't want coaches traveling all over the place trying to get these athletes. But yeah, I don't know what he's going to do now. I would say he might come back to Florida. It's probably a little nicer here than in Oklahoma. But then again, who wants to get on a plane right now?
Yeah, no doubt. Diane says on Facebook Live, which comments brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys, trying to imagine Shane watching the Hallmark Channel, adding some fluffy pink slippers to that thought. Yeah, well, I won't be watching the Hallmark Channel. I won't be watching much TV now. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Freddie says, I feel bad for Dayton, San Diego State, and men's basketball. I feel bad for anybody. I mean, think about the Robert Marshes of the world, those type of schools that they're not going to probably advance, but that's their lifelong dream is to get into March Madness. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. It's very, very difficult.
And there are teams that those mid-major sleeper teams that we see every year in March. This year it was Liberty and ETSU, and North Dakota State was a sleeper. Vermont was very good also. I feel bad for those teams because, I mean, even just winning a game or being close down the stretch is what these kids have been striving for since they were 5 years old, and now they're 18 to 22. And it's just really sad. It's an unprecedented situation, a situation that is very difficult to react to as a sports junkie, which I'm sure most of you are. It's very sad, and we have to take it with a grain of salt. And all we can do now is think about hypotheticals and kind of just look back at what could have been and talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, we got another text here on the Titan MR text line. That number is 352-353-7465. It comes from our good buddy Butterballs. He says, is it finally acceptable to greet coworkers and friends with, quote, the finger instead of a handshake? If so, for how long?
I think that depends on a lot of things. You don't want to get Me Too'd nowadays or anything of that facet. You don't want to be rude to people who can't take a joke. But my buddies, personally, I'm not touching any of them. They're all getting a finger in their face.
There you go.
They might get kicked around a little bit, but I'm going to be ultra cautious here. At work, I have clients at work who come in and we chat, just like do business, and those handshakes are stopping very quickly. We sent somebody out, our assistant in the office yesterday. We sent her out to Sam's Club in the aisle. She sent us a picture. The aisle was barren. No toilet paper, hand sanitizer.
I don't understand
anything.
the toilet paper thing at all.
I don't either. I mean, if I understand if you're sick, you're using the bathroom more often, but like, does everybody just have the flu now? I don't understand where this is coming from.
Yeah, I don't quite understand the toilet paper thing at all. Butterballs also texts, will they try to make up the 2 weeks of missed Major League Baseball games with a bunch of doubleheaders, or just go with a shortened season? I don't think they know when the season is going to start.
I don't know if they know the season's going to start. I mean, you mentioned earlier we're suspending all sports until fall. That's obviously college football and basketball. But this baseball, I mean, baseball is it ends in September and it's supposed to start in 2 weeks. I have a theory that baseball is going to start late. They're going to shorten the season. And at the end of the day, they're going to be like, 145 games. That's probably better than 162 in the long run. Because, I mean, baseball season is absolutely ridiculous. You're going to start a league today. You're not putting 162 games. You're not having these guys play virtually every day for 4 months. So I think in the long run, it'll be good for Major League Baseball. I think it'll help out. But that's another thing that I was very excited for going forward. And I started doing this show with UQB and JC recently, and I was very excited moving forward because it's March Madness, NBA playoffs, Masters, baseball, college football, college basketball again. And now it's all just up in the air, and we just don't know what's coming next. And there's really nothing to look forward to.
No. Well, we got a bunch of texts coming in today, which is a good thing. We don't know who this is from, but they text on the Titan MRI text line. What are your thoughts on players in sports like softball or baseball that just started a month ago, regaining a year of eligibility? Would that cause more problems with future recruiting classes? Well, that's where I think for that 1 year period, somehow the NCAA has to step in and increase your numbers on your roster and increase your scholarships potentially if a kid wants to stay. Let's use Kendall Lindemann, who is the big bopper in the Gator softball lineup. She's a senior. She's had a great career, but she wants an opportunity to go back to Oklahoma City. Well, usually they can go play professional softball in their league. I don't know what those girls make, but they should be able to say, hey, you are allowed to come back if you choose, and it won't count against their scholarship. Although in softball and baseball, you have to split the scholarships up a bunch of different ways. But I think the NCAA should do the right thing and come to some conclusion how they give those kids an opportunity to come back if they choose.
And I think that this has to do with the big picture of especially college basketball, but all college sports in general. If these seniors want to come back and play another year because their year got cut so short, especially baseball, but basketball too, it's going to be good in the long run, in my opinion, because this way these big freshmen, these big top recruits will say, well, Trent Forrest is staying at Florida State. He's our starting point guard. He's our best player. He was supposed to leave. I'm not going to Florida State. I'm going to go to Clemson. I'm going to go to Virginia. And we're going to spread the wealth of these recruits where it's not Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, every single year as the top teams. So all in all, I think it'll be good. And that has to do with the one and done rule as well. Should we make guys stay 2 years? Should we let them go out of high school? This way we could spread recruits around and we don't have all these one and dones at the same schools every year. That's a problem for another day. That's a big picture problem. But I think all in all, this might be a good thing. This little hiatus might be a good thing for sports. But if I could have it my way, this would never happen, ever. It's just the worst thing I could imagine.
It's bad. You're watching Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. I'm Shane Matthews. That's Jackie Spreads, better known as Jack Daly, or Jack Daly, better known as Jackie Spreads, sitting in for JC today. Got another text here from Daryl. He says, Shane, pick up the rod and reel or the golf club now. Well, I will be playing golf today. Now, if they were to shut down golf courses, which I do know there was a golf course shut down, a very nice private course over in the St. Augustine area that has been shut down because someone over there, I think, thought they had the virus or what have you. But if they shut down golf courses, then I'm done. I don't know what I will do.
I'll have nothing to do. I mean,
You're a golfer?
Big time. I mean, I'm not any good. My handicap sits around 18 to 21. But I love to play, and that's pretty much what I do on the weekends is watch sports and play golf. And obviously, one of those things have been nixed. If they nix the other, you're gonna see a lot of me walking golf courses by myself that are closed. I mean, they can't close the course itself. They can close the pro shop. I'll be dragged off before I stop trying to play because there's literally nothing else for me to do.
We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Fred. Fred says, are there any sports around the world we can bet on? Can Jack bet on the Sri Lanka cricket game if he wants to?
I have a dark past with that. Nights where you're just on fire and you hit all your bets and it's midnight and you're like, oh crap, there's no basketball, there's no baseball, football, whatever the popular sport of the day may be. And it gets to be 3 a.m. and you're saying, whatever, I'll just bet on this cricket game. I guess I can find it online. One thing, you can't find it online, and you won't unless you pay for it. Two, I don't know how the heck cricket works. I don't know the scoring system. It was the most difficult thing to watch, and I don't even know if I won. I didn't even know if I won afterwards. I had to check my book and see whether I had less money or more money in there. So I mean, there are things you can bet on, and I was gonna lay some lines here, hypotheticals, like what's the over under on days until we see another collegiate or professional sport kick off. 60.5 over under. Let's talk about it. We could do things like that. But there's always something to bet on. You could bet on the presidential election. You could bet on how many days the coronavirus scare will last. You can bet on how many days the Trump travel ban to the EU will last. I mean, there's always something to bet on, but there's no better feeling than hitting a spread in a basketball game or a football game.
What's interesting to me is, the Gators are still going to have spring football practice. You can still practice, but you can't have any competition, which is kind of strange to me.
It's a little hypocritical.
I'm also curious if, now that baseball season's over and that's where the new football facility is going to be placed, would they start construction early?
That's another big question that the University of Florida itself is going to have to figure out is baseball season canceled for good, and should we move on to the next thing?
Well, the NCAA says it is. I mean, I guess.
Did.
Oh, yeah, they've canceled every sport.
I saw that all SEC sports were suspended until the end of March.
Then it came back out that every spring and winter sport is done in collegiate athletics.
Wow. That is ridiculousness. I think that this is just going to blow over faster than everybody thinks, and it's not going to be a huge deal.
I did see where the XFL, Vince McMahon, who owns that league, he's going to pay the salary for all players. Which I think is outstanding. I saw where Mark Cuban and I believe the Atlanta Hawks owner and the Cleveland Cavaliers owners are going to take care of all the employees at the arenas that rely on games to be played, the vendors, things like that, going to take care of them, which I think is
that's
wonderful.
Fantastic. And that's another thing that we have to deal with is even some business in Gainesville have shut down. And I mean, obviously it's premature, but a lot of doctors' offices are only accepting certain kinds of patients. Dental offices are only doing emergency surgeries and things like that. So I mean, we're at threat level midnight here in this country, and I think it's a good thing that we're doing it before we have a case like China or Italy. But it's just really sad, all in all. I mean, I love sports. I obviously love to bet on sports, and that being the first major thing in this country to fall off because of this, to really shut down in a different way because of this, it's really just unfortunate for somebody like me.
Well, our play of the day is going to be a player of the day from yesterday over in TPC over at Ponte Vedra. And today's play of the day is brought to you by Area Rug Masters, your number one choice for all your area rug cleaning services at 352-448-5999. And it goes to, yes, I did pick him in our golf challenge with JC, Hideki Matsuyama. He tied a course record yesterday shooting a 63 at TPC Sawgrass, the stadium course. He was on fire. So Hideki may be our last player or play of the day for quite some time. However, I was thinking if our loyal listeners would like to maybe throw some player or plays of the day from maybe their local high schools, which high school sports are still going on, believe it or not.
Unbelievable stuff.
And what's interesting is a lot of people have asked, why haven't the public high schools shut down? I don't know if they can shut them down, Jackie Spreads, because majority of the kids that go to public schools probably don't have computer or internet access.
And that's another thing with colleges even shutting down is that, I mean, I went to Tallahassee Community College and Florida State University for a time, and there were plenty of people who didn't have computers, and while everybody else is taking notes, they're writing and they're grinding and whatever it may be. So these colleges, I know Florida State and Florida have both gone to remote classes now. I don't know how you do that because a lot of these kids are going to have to go out in public to a library or some kind of coffee shop to go on a computer, and it's basically just making them be exposed in a different place. If you're going to cancel classes, you might as well get a ban on even going outside.
We got some Facebook Live comments here. Click up where I can see there. There we go. They're brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. Rick says, isn't there an over-under on curling? I don't think it's curling season right now. Maybe it's not.
The Olympics are canceled.
Fred X is TPC players still on. No, TPC initially they let the fans watch yesterday in round one, and then they had a presser saying that no fans would attend the rest of the weekend. And then late last night, they just It's
Yep.
done.
Yep.
It's done.
And another thing they said was in the midst of all these college basketball things falling off, the PGA tweeted, quote, "The TPC players in Ponte Vedra, Florida will still go on as planned with limited fans and media access. However, the Valspar Invitational, which is the next tournament, has been canceled indefinitely, and we'll see we'll see what happens moving forward. They haven't canceled the Masters yet. I'm sure they will. But yeah, and then the Korn Ferry Tour, which is basically the G League for golf, quoted that tweet and said, "We'll still go on as planned as well. All Korn Ferry events will have no fans, yada, yada, yada." An hour later, not even an hour later, the PGA fires off another tweet that's, "We have canceled all PGA Tour events for the foreseeable future."
Well, we're going to take our last time out of the program. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Weeby Realtor, Caldwell Banker M.M. Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Coldstone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Weeby at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Jack Daly, better known as Jackie Spread, Shane Matthews in studio today. Not a whole lot of sports to talk about. The world has changed, but Celebration Point is where the Gators go to celebrate. With premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. We got a couple of Facebook live comments, which are brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. Ben says he's tuned in to the show while he's at Gainesville Health and Fitness. He must be on his mobile device, one of the YouTube, Spotify's, Apple Podcast, one of those
Facebook
deals.
Live, anything. You can get us
Well,
anywhere.
I think it'd be kind of hard to be watching Facebook
Well,
Live
if
while
you're
you're
running
working
on
out.
on a treadmill, you
Oh, that's
put,
true.
You put
He
it up
could be
there.
on.
and-
He could be on treadmill. That's true.
that shows how much I go to the gym.
All right, so Taylor, our producer, pulled up the on this day in sports back. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. In 1915, Dodgers manager Wilbert Robinson tries to catch a baseball drop from an airplane, but the pilot substitutes a grapefruit. I wonder if he caught it.
I think that he probably destroyed his glove because a grapefruit just exploded all over it. And I don't know about you, but my least favorite thing in the world is having a sticky substance on anything. It's just the worst. It irks me like nails on a chalkboard. So I'm imagining that grapefruit dropping into his glove and exploding on impact. Good prank.
Yeah. So as we mentioned, we thought we'd be able to watch the TPC this weekend, but it was canceled last night. So Jackie, we got a question here. Jack's best bets and worst bets of all time.
One comes to mind for the worst bet of all time. They're definitely more memorable. I don't know if that's me being pessimistic or just something that sticks with you a little more. Because after a win, you're just celebrating. You kind of just forget about it. The worst loss I ever had was actually on a Houston versus Utah Jazz game. One of the first bets I ever made. It was a playoff game. I had the Jazz plus 3.5 against Houston. The Jazz are down by 1, and Boris Diaw is at the line. I will curse Boris Diaw's name forever because of this. I don't have anything against the guy. He just screwed me a few times. He misses the free throw. James Harden comes down and nails a 3, and then the game ends, and I lose by 4. I had 3.5. That one really ripped my heart out. The best bet I've ever won of all time is on the flip side of that. Is I had Tiger Woods to win the Masters last year. I'm just a big Tiger Woods fan. I mean, I love watching him golf.
You got very fortunate.
I got extremely fortunate. I bet it like 2 weeks before it happened at 75 to 1. And I just put like $5 on it, ended up with $90 in my pocket because of it. So when he won that and it was kind of making that run late Sunday, it was one of those things where it was like, nobody talk to me right now. I gotta watch this. I gotta get this money. Not only that, but we're gonna see history. We're gonna see Tiger Woods win what is probably his last major event. And ironically enough, he went and won the Zozo a few months later and tied that record for PGA Tour wins. But we don't know if he'll ever have a chance to break that record, and we don't know how long sports are gonna be without. So there's always something to talk about in the sports realm. You could go back and I could talk about how different the NBA is now than it was 10 years ago, or who should win the Heisman next year, or maybe should they not fire Mike White. I know he was on a little bit of a hot seat and the tournament was dependent on what they were going to do there. So now there's no answer. That's another question. But all in all, I mean, I'm going to miss gambling a lot. It'll probably be a good thing to take a little hiatus. And I'm going to miss sports a lot, but I'll tell you what, we are not going anywhere here on the Pod Up Show. We're going to be with you guys through this entire process, and hopefully there will be some kind of sport to talk about here soon.
Yeah, I agree. And again, we had Lisa Magary in from Celebrate Primary Care, which is one of our big sponsors here on this program, to kind of educate us on this coronavirus and make sure the biggest point I took out of that was washing your hands and not touching your face, which I've always been a big hand washer. I've been a germaphobe, but I have issues touching my face because I think it's my allergies with the pollen and stuff. Like I want to rub my eyes right now so bad, but that wouldn't be good. We have another, we have all our wonderful listeners here on the Facebook Live comments, which are brought to you by Pound Hurt Your Personal Injury Attorneys. Diane says, founding of the Grapefruit League, the Philadelphia Phillies were the first of the current major league teams to train in Florida when they spent 2 weeks in Jacksonville in 1889. 1 year later, 2 other teams moved to Florida for spring training, the real start of the Grapefruit League. And then Rick says, so named because they take place in the citrus-growing South, as in Florida. So I think Diane and Rick should get together and talk about the Grapefruit League.
I want to know if Diane Googled that. If she didn't Google that,
I'm pretty sure
incredible
I'm
stat.
pretty sure she Googled that.
But what if she didn't?
But I think her and Rick might want to get together and talk about their days of the Grapefruit League and all that good stuff.
I just want to throw out there, since baseball season is suspended for however long, that Jeff McNeil of the New York Mets hit .589 in the Grapefruit League. That's 5 hits every 10 at bats on average, 5.8 hits every 10 at bats point average, which is incredible. So if this baseball season doesn't happen, I'm going to go ahead and crown him batting champion, just for lack of a better person. Because when you hit .589, I don't care who you're playing against, you're seeing the ball well.
You know, I saw some quotes back to the March Madness. You know, I know several coaches were upset. They understood that they had to suspend, or not cancel, but suspend the tournament because of where we are as a country right now with this virus. But they understand that a lot of teams, I mean, you think about Gonzaga, never won a national title. They had a very good chance of winning it this year. There's a lot of coaches that are upset that they're not going to have an opportunity to compete.
Mark Few right now is the Charles Barkley of college basketball, where he's elite every single year and hasn't gotten the ring. That's another thing we could talk about is he's in quarantine for at least 2 days as well. He's waiting on his test results. Last I saw, it could have come out here in the next hour, but he's waiting on his test results. And if he has it, the NBA is going to have a big outbreak because everybody loves Chuck, and he's been on interviews that I listened to recently with different podcasters, and they have people in the studio every day. He's touching Shaq. Who knows who Shaq's around, and it's just too much. It's just too much.
Yeah, so hopefully they can get a hold of this thing. I mean, so life can get back to some normalcy pretty soon. Well, what else?
I gotta say one thing though. I know who the happiest man in college basketball is right now, as Roy Williams.
Oh yeah, that's a great point.
The worst season UNC has had ever probably. I know that they missed the tournament in 2001, but that their record wasn't as bad as it is this year.
So whatever their streak is for number of
it's still alive.
Consecutive streaks for the tournament, it is still
if
alive.
A bracket was never officially announced and it was tweeted out, it was a spreadsheet with who was getting in, what bubble teams. Obviously, we didn't get to see the conference tournaments, so it was a little skewed. It probably would have changed a bit, but they did release a bracket. That being said, it wasn't officially released. So UNC, congratulations, your streak lives.
Yeah. So again, we only got about another minute here. We want to really thank Lisa Magary from Celebrate Primary Care coming in. And folks, she's a doctor, and she even said that her and her family are going on did she say a cruise?
Yes.
For their spring break next week or 2 weeks from now. So not much concern there, but the biggest thing is wash your hands for 20 seconds. You can't wash them for 5 or 10. 20 seconds is the key.
And another thing with that is going on vacation is risky, of course, right now. You never know who could have this disease. It's just like driving. When you drive safely, you're not trusting yourself. You're not trusting others. Don't trust anybody. And they say they wash their hands, whatever. Just do it yourself. Be as cleanly as you can, especially if you're going to go on vacation. I know it's a big vacation season. Worry about it. Worry about yourself and hopefully others too. But if you worry about yourself, you shouldn't have to be affected by others.
Well, folks, today's show is a wrap brought to you by WrapSpot. A vehicle wrap from WrapSpot will give your business years of brand recognition and increased sales. Call WrapSpot today. Appreciate Jackie Spreads, Jack Daly sitting in for JC. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be talking sports in some capacity. Tune in. Have a great weekend.